The early 13th century witnessed the rise and fall of great empires across the globe. On one hand, feudalism was strengthening in Europe, while on the other the Mongols were advancing rapidly in Asia. The most powerful and feared empire of this era was the Mongol Empire, which carried out some of the greatest conquests in world history. Genghis Khan and his successors had brought vast territories under their control. However, the Mongols' victories culminated in their targeting of Baghdad, the heart of the Islamic world. When Baghdad was invaded by the Mongol army in 1258, it marked not only the fall of a city, but also the destruction of one of the most magnificent legacies of world civilization. Under the Abbasid caliphate, Baghdad had become the center of science and culture, religion and philosophy. This city was considered the brain of the Islamic Golden Age. Yet this powerful center of culture fell before the iron hand of the Mongols, which brought only destruction. Before delving into the tragic conquest of Baghdad, let us briefly introduce the city. Founded towards the end of the 8th century, the Abbasid Caliphate had experienced the most powerful and prosperous periods of Islam. The caliphs established major scientific centers in Baghdad, attracting scholars, philosophers, and artisans from all corners of the world. Baghdad's famous baitul, House of Wisdom library became one of the largest knowledge centers of its time. But the rise of the Mongols brought an end to Baghdad's glorious days. In 1258, Hulegu Khan, leading the Mongol army, marched toward Baghdad. Hulegu was known as one of the most prominent Mongol leaders in the Western campaigns, and his goal was to completely dismantle the power of the Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East. Regarding the beginning of Baghdad's downfall, many scholars and historians interpret the event not merely as a military victory, but also as the massacre of a civilization. Baghdad's defenses were weak. Caliph al-Mustasim tried to put up significant resistance against the Mongols, but ultimately proposed peace negotiations. However, Hulegu rejected these offers and decided to tear down Baghdad's defenses with full force. The city was besieged, and Mongol warriors breached its walls and entered the heart of the city. The brutal assaults carried out by the Mongols during the invasion of Baghdad became some of the most horrifying events of that era. As a result of these attacks, a large number of people were killed, and many mosques, schools, libraries, and palaces were destroyed. The Abbasid Caliphate officially came to an end. Some historians estimate the death toll to be between 800,000 and 2 million. This invasion also completely eradicated the scientific, religious, and cultural heritage that formed the backbone of the society. The conquest of Baghdad was not merely a military victory, but also a massive blow to world culture and science. The Baitul library, located in Baghdad, was one of the most significant centers of knowledge at the time. Here, the works of ancient Greek philosophers, Indian and Chinese sciences, as well as the intellectual contributions of the Islamic world, had been gathered. The burning of this heritage by the Mongols resulted in one of the greatest losses in the history of science. Hulegu Khan had the scholars in the city executed and inflicted heavy damage on books and written sources. Baghdad's influence on science and culture effectively ended with this event. All those books and scientific works became an irreplaceable cultural heritage of the past. Yet many of them were completely destroyed during the Mongol assault. The invasion of Baghdad created a massive political vacuum in the Islamic world. With the end of the Abbasids, There was no longer a centralized political structure. This led to fragmentation within the Islamic world and the rise of many local rulers. The Mongol advance triggered numerous wars and conflicts across the region. This tragedy not only led to the destruction of a city, but also severely weakened the political and cultural richness of the Islamic world. However, this in turn led to the development of several states that came into conflict with the Mongols and the beginning of new wars. The invasion of Baghdad marked the end of an era. This tragedy brought significant changes to the Islamic world and led to the collapse of various cultures. But most importantly, it became one of the bloodiest and most impactful events in world history. The invasion of Baghdad turned into one of the largest massacres in the history of mankind.